As night gently settles and your breath begins to soften, you may notice something familiar. The mind, tired after a long day, still keeps running, unwilling to rest. Scattered thoughts, unnamed worries, quiet questions about the future, about meaning, about who you are, all blending together into a thin layer of mist that drapes over the soul with a heaviness that makes sleep feel distant. In the modern world, where everything moves too quickly, we often forget something very simple. The mind, too, needs a gentle touch. It needs a pause to let the breath fall into ease, to release the noise of daily life, and to remember that beneath all exhaustion, we still carry within us a deeply human curiosity, a desire to understand the universe, to understand ourselves, and to reach toward what lies beyond comprehension. That is the reason for tonight's journey. A journey not meant to solve problems, not meant to force you to remember or to grasp anything too intensely. Instead, it is a journey that invites you into a state of exploration, light and effortless, like a single drop of water falling onto a still lake and rippling outward in quiet circles. Here, within this slow storytelling, you will be guided through some of the greatest mysteries of science, but in a different way. Not as difficult answers, but as beautiful questions. Questions that once made great thinkers pause in the depth of night, looking up at the sky and asking themselves, is the universe thinking about us? Or are we the way the universe thinks about itself? Carl Sagan once said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." Even if we do not yet grasp the full meaning of that sentence tonight, you will step into a place where the boundary between science and meditation begins to blur, where each mystery of the cosmos reflects a mystery quietly sleeping inside your own soul. You will hear about stars that fade like distant spirits, about quantum particles leaping through barriers as if teasing the logic of the human mind, about tiny creatures that survive where death seems absolute, and about consciousness itself, something sometimes more fragile than light, yet deeper than any expanse of space. And within every story, you do not need to stay awake. Let your mind slow soften, as if each mystery you encounter were simply a key opening an inner doorway, a doorway that leads you back to the quiet you could not find throughout the day. Tonight, the journey begins with the vastness of the universe, but perhaps the destination is the closest place of all, the place deep within you where you are finally allowed to rest. There are long nights when every sound in the room has faded away and the light of the world thins into silence. And in that quiet, human beings seem to come closer to one another through a very particular state, the state of stillness. Within that stillness, we begin to hear what the noise of daytime often conceals, the soft beating of our own hearts, the steady rhythm of our breath, and deeper still, an ancient curiosity, the curiosity for the dark sky above our heads. From the time when humanity had not yet named the stars, we have always lifted our eyes to the sky as if awaiting a message from somewhere distant. And each time we gaze at the universe gazes back at us through mysteries we have never been able to fully explain. Tonight, in this gentle journey, I want to invite you to walk through those great mysteries, not to search for answers, but to listen for what the universe may be whispering to your soul. Carl Sagan once wrote in Cosmos, "Somewhere something incredible is waiting to be known. And perhaps what is waiting is not only knowledge, but also a quiet awakening within each one of us." Imagine you are watching a star shimmering in the night, but instead of shining steadily, it dims, then darkens completely, then brightens again in ways that do not follow any known rule. That is Tabby Star. A star that confounded scientists by dimming up to 22%, far more than any planet could ever obscure. Someone once joked that if the universe had a heartbeat, Tabby's star might be the moment it skipped a beat. Some theories suggest dust or drifting debris. But there are also those who are braver, who dare to ask a larger question, a question both chilling and wondrous. Could there be a Dyson sphere encircling that star? a structure built by a civilization millions of years more advanced than ours. Though the answer remains unclear, Tabby Star reminds us of this. What we know is a grain of sand. What we do not know is the entire universe. A neutron star, small as a city, yet heavier than the sun, sometimes suddenly spins faster without reason. Just as the mind occasionally leaps awake with an uninvited thought, neutron stars also experience glitches, strange slips in rotation that physics still struggles to explain. Some scientists believe that within them lies a superfluid, a state of matter so smooth it carries no friction at all. Perhaps in that very strangeness we learn something. Not every acceleration has a reason. Some movements are simply the echoes of existence, even if that existence unfolds inside the heart of a dead star. When Oumuamua entered the solar system in 2017, it carried a form unlike anything we had ever known. Not an asteroid, not a comet, no tail of gas, no familiar orbit. And it accelerated gently as it left something ordinary physics could not explain. Quietly, scientists wondered, what if it's not a rock, but a message Avi Loeb of Harvard proposed that Oumuamua might be a kind of light sail, a technology from an unfamiliar civilization? We do not know, and you do not need to know. What matters more is this feeling. Perhaps we are not alone in this vast universe, and sometimes that possibility alone is enough to warm the heart. The entire Milky Way, including you and me, is being pulled toward a single direction at over 600 kilometers per second. Yet the strangest part is this: we do not know what is pulling us. That region of space is hidden behind the dust and stars of our own galaxy. It has been given a name both beautiful and unsettling: the Great Attractor. No one knows what it truly is. A supercluster of galaxies, a mass we have not detected, or something no one has ever imagined, Nietzsche once wrote in Thus Spoke Zarathustra. One must still have chaos in oneself to give birth to a dancing star. Perhaps the universe's own chaos is giving rise to the motions that carry us farther into regions without names. A.C. Bold physicists have suggested this. The Big Bang may be the birth of a universe inside a black hole belonging to another universe. It sounds like philosophy, yet it is taken seriously in theoretical physics. If that is true, then every black hole you see in the night sky could contain an entire universe growing within it, with stars, planets, life, and souls wondering the same questions you wonder now. And if so, when we look at the sky, we are not just looking upward. We are looking into millions of universes nested within one another, like an infinite chain of dreams. The universe might be flat-curved, closed, open, shaped like a donut, or perhaps without any shape at all. But the most beautiful thing science has glimpsed lately is the existence of cosmic filaments, strands of matter stretching hundreds of millions of light years. Seen from afar, these filaments resemble something very familiar: the neural network of the human brain. Perhaps it is coincidence. But perhaps, as the philosopher Alan Watts once said, you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at itself. If the universe has a brain, then we may be one of its tiny neurons existing, so the universe can know it exists. None of these mysteries ask you to find an answer tonight. They are merely suggestions, droplets of light falling onto the surface of your mind, causing it to ripple gently before becoming still again. The universe is vast beyond our understanding, but it is also beautiful enough that thinking of it alone brings peace to the heart. Tonight, as you loosen your body and let your breath deepen and soften, remember this: you are a part of the universe. You come from the stars. You carry within you the history of 13.8 billion years of light, and all the quiet mysteries out there are also quietly resting within you. Let tonight be a slow journey where those mysteries no longer confuse you but become a refuge, a place where you are held in the arms of the universe like a child in the boundless embrace of a mother. To continue our journey, let us return to the moment where Part 1 left us, the moment after we had wandered through distant galaxies, past the stars that flicker like the quiet breathing of the cosmos, past the gravitational tides that pull the entire Milky Way. And suddenly you felt something strange, something almost intimate. The farther you looked outward, the wider something inside you seemed to become, as if the expansion of the universe were quietly echoing inside your own chest. And tonight, as your mind softens in that vastness, another question touches you gently, like a fingertip brushing across still water. If the mysteries beyond the universe can leave us speechless, what would happen if we turned inward into the realm so small that no one has ever seen it with the naked eye? For sometimes the strangest wonders of the universe do not live in galaxies, do not burn inside the hearts of stars, but hide within things smaller than a single breath within quantum particles. Tiny beyond imagination, yet responsible for everything. The light you see, the warmth in your hands, even the thought passing through your mind at this exact moment. And that world follows none of the familiar logic we know. Imagine standing in front of a thick wall. In our world, if you lack the strength, you cannot pass through it. But for quantum particles, the story is different. Sometimes they pass through a wall as if that wall were no more than a fleeting idea. This phenomenon is called quantum tunneling. Not through force, not through speed, but purely through the simple, delicate existence of probability. A small part of the particle's quantum being leaks to the other side, and then suddenly the whole particle appears where you never believed it could be. And perhaps in long, quiet nights, you have felt something similar. A sadness you thought you could never cross. A thought like a heavy wall pressing on your chest, yet somehow without knowing how you move through it. Maybe just like quantum particles, we also carry hidden tunnels inside the mind, thin, fragile places where we slip past our own limits without understanding why. And then we reach something even stranger, something that makes physicists admit that the universe does not obey human intuition at all. In our everyday world, a truth can only be true once. If you stand here, you cannot stand elsewhere. If you choose this direction, you give up the other. But in the quantum world, everything can be simultaneous. An electron can be in two positions at once. A photon can travel both paths. A particle can spin in two opposite directions simultaneously. This is superposition, and it invites us to wonder. How many times in your life have you felt you were in two places at once? How many times have you felt two versions of yourself living inside you, one strong, one fragile, one wanting to move forward, one longing to rest, one ready to let go, one still holding on? Hearing this, you may smile softly. Perhaps it is not only you who lives in contradiction. The universe does too. From the deepest level of its being, Walt Whitman once wrote in Song of Myself, "I contain multitudes." And perhaps this is more than poetry. Perhaps it is a clue to how reality works, as if even the smallest particle contains an entire crowd of possibilities. But the strangeness goes deeper still. One of the most profound mysteries of quantum physics is this: particles do not have a definite position until they are observed. Before observation, they are not here, not there, not moving, not still. They exist only as a cloud of probabilities. But when you look at them, something extraordinary happens. They collapse into a single state, as if your attention forces reality to become something specific. John Wheeler in The Participatory Universe once said, "No phenomenon is a real phenomenon until it is an observed phenomenon." If that is true, then perhaps the most beautiful thing in life is not that we see the world, but that the world becomes real when we are deeply present. Maybe that is why, when you attend to sadness, it becomes clearer. When you attend to peace, it becomes real. When you attend to your breath, time itself seems to slow. Then, as science ventured deeper into the brain, another beautiful question emerged. A question that sounds like philosophy, like meditation, like something whispered by the universe itself. Could consciousness be a quantum phenomenon? Stuart Hameroff and Roger Penrose propose that inside our neurons exist tiny structures called microtubules, where quantum vibrations could form subjective experience, the feeling of I am here. If this is true, then your mind is not merely biology. Your mind is part of a quantum symphony spread across the cosmos. Your thoughts a vibration, your emotions a collapsing probability, your awareness at night an interference pattern of infinite possibilities. And as you drift into sleep, your mind may be expanding, merging with a larger current of reality. There was once a controversial experiment by Vladimir Poponin when DNA was placed in a vacuum chamber and a laser was shown through the light bent into a specific pattern. But when the DNA was removed, the pattern remained, as if the imprint of life stayed behind even when life itself had been taken away. Maybe the experiment had flaws. Maybe the result was accidental. But the idea behind it is quietly beautiful. The universe may remember. And if the environment remembers DNA, then perhaps the moments you have lived, the people you have loved, the smiles that have faded, the seasons you believe you have forgotten, have not vanished at all. They leave behind traces light as the fragrance of a flower, long fallen, yet still lingering somewhere in the air. Some physicists go even further. They propose that the universe is not made of matter. The universe is made of information. John Archibald Wheeler called it from bit, meaning that everything we see from light to sound, from mountains to thoughts, may be arrangements of information at the deepest level of reality. If the universe is information, then you are not merely a living body. You are a pattern, a delicate structure of cosmic intelligence unfolding through time. And if all is woven from information, then even nothingness is not truly empty. In the vacuum, a place we imagine to be absolutely hollow particles appear and disappear endlessly like tiny ripples rising and fading in an ocean of invisibility. Perhaps that is why in the moments you feel emptiest, you are still not empty at all. Even when you think nothing remains within you, there are countless gentle oscillations holding you from within life. Memory, dreams, and unformed possibilities. These quantum phenomena are not just strange, they are reminders that reality is not as rigid as we believe, that the mind is not bound by ordinary logic, that our being may be softer, more fluid, more open than we ever imagined. And sometimes this strangeness is what brings us peace. Because if even the universe is this uncertain, then the uncertainty within you is not wrong at all. Allow yourself to drift with the probabilities, the oscillations, the invisible currents drawing you toward sleep. Let the quantum world wrap around you like a soft blanket draped across the universe. Tonight, you do not need to understand. You only need to be. And slowly, like a quantum particle resting in the dark, you will find your place not through logic, but through the gentle, quiet blooming in your heart. After stepping through the mysterious doorway of the quantum world, where particles can slip through walls, where reality trembles like a dream, not yet formed, where nothing is certain but only possible, there may arise within you a very gentle feeling. If at the smallest scale the universe is already so illogical, then what is happening at a larger scale? The scale of life. The quantum world shows us that the essence of reality is shimmering soft and never still. Yet from this shimmering foundation, something even more astonishing emerges. Life. Life, the thing that can sing, remember, hurt, love, write poetry and dream. The thing that can ask questions the universe itself remains silent about. Alan Watts once wrote in the book, "You are the universe experiencing itself." And perhaps that is most true when we speak of life. So tonight, drift with me into the next part of our journey, not among the stars, but but upon the blue home on which we stand. Earth, the place where life began and where every question grows gentle. Phosphine on Venus, the sign of a distant breath. In 2020, a quiet discovery shook the scientific community. Phosphine was detected in the clouds high above Venus. On Earth, phosphine is a gas usually created by life bacteria microorganisms, tiny ecosystems. But Venus, a planet hot enough to melt metal with pressure like the weight of hell, clouds made entirely of sulfuric acid. And yet in that brutal world, phosphine appeared like a breath, a hint of life whispering within the thin upper atmosphere. No one knows where it came from. No one is certain it means life. But what matters is the feeling. Even in the places that seem utterly dead, a hidden pulse may still exist. Just like within the human heart, no matter how wounded it becomes, there is always a warm breath somewhere waiting to be touched. Henry David Thoreau once wrote in Walden, "Not until we are lost do we begin to understand ourselves." Perhaps life is the same. Only when it enters the most desperate places does it reveal itself in its most unbelievable forms. The immortal beings, tardigrades, ancient bacteria, and the challengers of death. If you were to shrink the world down to the size of a single drop of water, you would find one of the strangest creatures ever known. The tardigrade, also called the water bear. It is so small you cannot see it with the naked eye. Yet its abilities surpass everything we imagine surviving the vacuum of space, enduring temperatures near absolute zero or hotter than boiling water, freezing itself for decades, waking again as if nothing had happened. Some ancient bacteria found in Siberian ice slept for 32,000 years, then awakened and continued living. These water bears and ancient microbes offer a gentle reminder. Life is not as fragile as we think. It does not merely exist, it endures. It does not merely endure, it invents ways to surpass death. And when you look at these tiny beings, perhaps you will remember that within you too lives the ability to return. Any wound, no matter how deep, can find its way back toward the light. Nietzsche once wrote in The Gay Science, "What does not kill me makes me stronger." But perhaps the truth goes deeper. There are things that seem capable of killing life, yet life smiles and walks through them like a blade of grass rising through stone. The origin of water, the planet's oldest story. We grow up believing that Earth is the planet of water. Yet the question, where did water come from, is one of the most beautiful mysteries of all. Some believe water arrived through icy meteorites crashing into early Earth-cold gifts delivered from distant space. Others believe water formed from deep within the Earth itself, released from hot minerals in the planet's interior. Some say the truth may be both. But whatever the origin, water became the keeper of this planet's memory. It flows through oceans, gathers in clouds, falls as rain, rises as vapor, and returns again to the sea. Just like our memories. Always circulating, always changing, but never truly lost. Carl Sagan once said in Cosmos, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." And perhaps water is how Earth knows itself, through rivers, through tides, through the sound of rain at night. Imagine that the water you drink today may have once fallen on the shoulders of dinosaurs, drifted among primordial clouds, or rested inside a meteor billions of years ago. You are drinking the history of the universe. You are drinking the memory of life itself. New forms of life. When life begins to recreate itself, the biological world today extends far beyond what you see in nature. Scientists are attempting to create synthetic life. Life formed artificially, shadow biospheres. Life that coexists but with biochemistry entirely unlike ours, self-evolving AI systems that adapt like real organisms. This opens an astonishing possibility. Life may exist in countless forms the human imagination has never touched. And even more remarkable, all these forms, however different, share one profound trait: they want to exist just as you want to exist. Perhaps life is not a substance, not a gene, not carbon or water. Perhaps life is a will to continue to transform, to bloom from darkness. Like the line by Dylan Thomas in Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. Rage, rage against the dying of the light. Life, whether a bacterium, a tardigrade, or the consciousness in the human mind, carries a small flame that resists ending. And when you lie down tonight in this softness, try to feel this. You are part of the story of life. A story stranger than anything science could ever write. A story that began in the smallest particles, traveled through billions of years of evolution, and has now become the breath rising in your chest. You are not simply living in the universe. You are the way the universe learns to live. And though we still have far more questions than answers about life beyond Earth, about the origin of water, about immortal creatures, about artificial life and new forms of intelligence, in this moment you only need to know one thing. Life, no matter how delicate it seems, is strong enough to appear, strong enough to continue, strong enough to become you. Breathe slowly. Let the Earth hold you with the warmth of billions of years of evolution. Let the life outside become the life within. Let the great questions soften into a deep sleep. Tonight, life is not only out there, it is within you, gentle, soft, and profoundly beautiful. After walking through the long story of life, from the quiet trace of phosphine in the clouds of Venus to the resilient water bears, enduring the frozen weight of time to the ancient origins of Earth's water, and to the possibility of strange forms of life we have never imagined. Perhaps a very soft feeling has begun to appear within you. Life is both fragile and enduring. And the human mind, the very thing that is listening to these stories, is the same. If life is the great mystery of the universe, then the mind is the greatest mystery of life. It is where you feel time, where you keep your memories, where you are confused in love, afraid and hopeful, where you dream, where you hurt, where you heal. And it is also the place where some very beautiful illusions arise, illusions that make us experience the world not as it is, but as we are. Carl Jung once wrote in The Undiscovered Self, "Who looks outside dreams, who looks inside awakes." And tonight we will go inward together into the depths of the mind, opening like a bottomless night sea. Let us begin with memory, the thing you think you own, the thing you believe you cannot be wrong about. But the truth is gentler and more surprising. Memory is not a recording. Memory is a story. The Mandela effect is a strange example. Millions of people remember the same event incorrectly. They truly believe Nelson Mandela died in prison in the 1980s, even though he lived until 2013. They believe in logos that never existed, lines of dialogue that were never spoken, images that were never shown. This leads both science and philosophy to ask, if a memory is not real but still feels real in the mind, then what is real? Nietzsche once wrote in Beyond Good and Evil. Memory says, "I did that." Pride replies, "I could not have done that." And finally, memory yields. Your mind is not always honest. It is more loyal to your emotions than to objective events. But that is not something to fear. In fact, it makes you more human. Because your memories are not history. Your memories are the stories your soul has chosen to keep. If there is a memory that hurts you, tell it again in a gentler way, because the mind is always listening. And the mind will believe. You may have seen a fly dodge a swatter in an instant. You may have seen a bird swoop down and dart away like an arrow. You may have watched a cat move with lazy grace and a turtle crossing the ground, as if inside a very slow song. For every living being, time flows with a different rhythm, but it goes even deeper than that. Within you, time does not have a single pace. When you are happy, an hour passes very quickly. When you are anxious, a minute stretches like an entire afternoon. When you miss someone, time stands still. When you are in pain, time hardens like stone. When you meditate, time disappears. And in this moment, as you listen to this voice, time is breathing in rhythm with you. William Blake once wrote in The Marriage of Heaven and Hell, "Eternity is in love with the productions of time. Perhaps time is not a river, but the heartbeat of the universe. And each species, each person, each moment listens to that heartbeat in a different way. You do not need to hurry. You do not need to force time to go faster or slower. You only need to let it pass through you like a breeze, light, cool, beyond your control. Perhaps you have felt this before, standing on a high balcony looking down into a deep void, and for a brief instant a thought flashes through your mind. What if I stepped off? Not because you want to, not because you are sad, not because you intend anything at all. It is simply a streak of thought, a passing shadow, a call of the void. Psychologists believe this is not a wish to self-destruct, but a reflex of survival. Your brain is checking the danger by imagining the action and instantly rejecting it, helping you preserve your life. This means that even when your mind is filled with strange thoughts, your brain is still protecting you. Unusual thoughts are not proof that you are weak. They are proof that you are alive. There are deep abysses within the human mind, but you are not going to fall into them. You are only walking past them, like crossing a suspension bridge in the fog. Jean-Paul Sartre in Being and Nothingness once said, "The consciousness that says I could jump is not the desire to jump. You do not want to fall. You only want to know that you will not, and that is a sign of awareness." As we go deeper into the mind, a question starts to echo like a low note in the background. Do humans truly understand themselves? Memory can be wrong. Time can be distorted. Thoughts can be illusions. Perception may be nothing more than shadows on a wall. Descartes once wrote in Meditations, "I know that I exist, but what am I?" And that question runs through philosophy, psychology, and tonight it is the gentle question touching you now. If memory is uncertain, if thoughts are unreliable, if perception is skewed, and if free will itself might only be an illusion, then what is the self? Is it the story you tell about yourself? Is it the image your brain constructs so you can function? Is it the voice in your head? And if so, to whom does that voice belong? Is it the interference pattern of countless moments, none of which ever truly stays the same? But tonight, the answer does not matter. What matters is this feeling. You do not need to understand all of yourself to be at peace. You only need to sit with yourself the way you would sit with an old friend. You do not need to force yourself to have perfect free will or flawless memory or total control over every thought. The mind does not need your control. The mind needs your listening. As we come to the end of this part, you may notice your breath becoming slower, your heartbeat settling. A part of your mind is calming like the surface of a lake after the rain. You have just seen that. Memory is uncertain. Time is not absolute. Thoughts are not always true. Perception is not the final truth. But this does not make you weaker. It makes you free. You are not confined by the past. You are not trapped within a single version of who you are. You are not limited by what you remember or think. You are lighter. You are breathing in a wider space. It is as if your mind is opening a window to let the night air in. And right now, you are allowed to not analyze, not judge, not explain. You are allowed to simply be. Let the beautiful illusions of the mind carry you into deep sleep, where memories dissolve like mist, where time softens like a thin blanket, and where you in this very moment do not have to be anyone at all. You only need to be yourself, a mind that is breathing, a heart that is quietly beating, a soul gently finding its way back to a peace that is very real and very close. After journeying together into the world of the mind, where memory is uncertain, where time flows to the rhythm of emotion, where strange thoughts are only signals of survival, and where the self becomes so thin that we no longer know where it begins or ends, you may feel that something very strange is happening. The deeper you look inside, the more mysterious the world outside becomes. If the mind is already this shimmering and fluid, then how strange must reality outside the mind truly be? As Alan Watts wrote in the book, "You are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. If you are indeed a window through which the universe sees itself, then tonight let us open that window slowly, gently, to step into the grandest, boldest, and most beautiful hypotheses about reality. Hypotheses that may not be true, but perhaps their value lies not in their accuracy, but in the way they expand the soul just a little more." Simulation theory. If reality is merely a dream computed into existence, imagine that everything you see, the room, the sky, the faces of the ones you love, is the result of an intricate simulation. Not created by some frightening programmer, but simply a natural step in the evolution of intelligence. Nick Bostrom once wrote in Are You Living in a Computer Simulation? If technologically mature civilizations develop simulation capabilities, there's a strong probability that we are living in one. The purpose of this idea is not to diminish the beauty of the world. On the contrary, it makes the world even more astonishing. If everything is simulated, then every moment you live is not randomness, but data singing itself into reality. And you, a soul in this quiet night, may be nothing more than a line of code capable of dreaming. But does that make you any less real, or does it make you something even more miraculous? Reality as information, when the universe is a poem written in data, John Wheeler, the Einstein Prize-winning physicist, once proposed. It from bit, everything is from information. If this theory is true, an electron is not a particle but a bit of information. Light is not a wave but data. Water, wind, forests, clouds are manifestations of a deep mathematical structure. And you are as well. You are not merely a body, you are a pattern, a form unfolding within the flow of cosmic information. When you sleep, that information softens, relaxes, loosens like a stream returning to the earth. As Rumi wrote in the Masnavi, "You are not a drop in the ocean, you are the entire ocean in a drop. If reality is information, then you are the ocean." No true vacuum. There is no nothingness, only vibrations waiting to awaken, no matter how hard we try to imagine it. Absolute nothingness is something we can never touch. In quantum physics, even where nothing exists, particles appear and disappear. No endings, no perfect emptiness. This makes us wonder, does absolute silence exist? Is death truly an end, or is it only a waiting state where all possibilities continue to vibrate? If no absolute nothingness exists, then perhaps even in your emptiest moments, something is still alive, still moving within you. A new thought, a new hope, a different version of yourself. Universe as a living organism, a cosmic creature breathing through galaxies, some cosmologists believe. The universe is not a machine, it is a living organism. It has a nervous system, the cosmic web. It has a heartbeat expansion. It has metabolism, stars being born and dying. It has memory, the cosmic background radiation. It has evolution from simplicity to complexity. And if the universe is alive, then your consciousness may be one cell within its vast nervous system. Albert Einstein once wrote in a letter, "A human being is part of a whole limited in time and space. A cell can never understand the entire body, yet it is essential to it. And so are you. You do not need to understand the whole universe to belong to it. You have belonged to it for a very long time." Consciousness after death. When awareness is no longer bound to the body, this idea does not belong solely to science or faith. It exists at their intersection. Some quantum theories suggest consciousness is not produced by the brain, but is a deeper phenomenon of space-time itself. The brain is only a receiver, like a radio tuning into signals that already exist in the air. If this is true, then when the radio breaks, the music does not disappear. It simply finds another place to play. And the question, what happens when we die, becomes less frightening. It becomes a shift in frequency. Perhaps you will merge into a larger melody. Perhaps you will become a wave. Perhaps you will become light. Perhaps you will become the universe itself. Self-aware universe is the cosmos conscious of its own existence. If consciousness is not limited to the human brain, but is a property of the universe itself, then every planet, every photon, every cosmic filament is part of a vast mind. Just as water knows how to flow, just as trees know how to lean toward the sun, just as the body knows how to heal its wounds, the universe may know that it is expanding, know that it is evolving, know that it is creating stars. Know that it is creating you. In Cosmos, Carl Sagan wrote, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." If that statement is true, then even your quietest thought is the thought of the universe. Soul hypothesis, when the soul is something beyond description. Across philosophy, theology, and science, the soul remains the most elusive concept. But regardless of what you call it, consciousness, spirit, psyche, Atman, they all point towards something very similar. A part of you that does not age, does not wrinkle, does not fade. A part that quietly observes everything from childhood until now, like the sky watching clouds change shape beneath it. You may carry many wounds, but beneath all those layers, there is a part that has never been touched. That is the place where you can rest. The place listening to these words. The place that will carry you into sleep. Multiverse. When this reality is only one of countless versions, if infinite parallel universes exist and each universe contains a different version of you, then somewhere you chose a different job, loved a different person, lived in another city, avoided a regret, kept someone you lost, took a risk sooner, forgave earlier. But the beautiful truth is this: the version you are living now is the only one you can touch. It is not the best version, but it is the version that lives, and that makes it beautiful. As Robert Frost wrote in The Road Not Taken, "Two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less traveled by." You always live in one of infinite universes, and it is the one in which your heart is present. After walking through these great philosophical possibilities from simulation, information, soul, multiverse to consciousness beyond death and a self-aware universe, you may feel your mind expanding like the night sky, not to understand everything, but to breathe more freely. Reality may be a simulation, it may be data, it may be consciousness, it may be a living organism, it may be a dream, it may be all of these. It may be none of them. But tonight, that does not matter. What matters is you are here breathing alive and listening to the stories of the universe. Let reality, whatever it is, wrap around you like a soft blanket. Let these grand philosophical possibilities become gentle waves carrying you into sleep. Tonight, you do not need answers. You only need peace. As we step away from the realm of extreme hypotheses, where reality might be a simulation, where the universe might think, where the soul might be a form of information, and where countless parallel worlds might be breathing alongside us, you may feel a strange spaciousness opening. A spaciousness not in the universe, but inside your own mind. That expansion, soft light and calm reveals something quietly beautiful. The deeper we dig into the nature of reality, the more humble we become. And that feeling leads us to the next great question, a question humanity has chased for over a century. Is there one single equation that describes the entire universe? Albert Einstein once wrote in one of his final letters, "I want to know God's thoughts. The rest are details." Though he used the word God, what he sought was not a deity, but the ultimate order, the deepest principle governing everything from the speed of light to the beating of your heart. But Does such a thing truly exist? Or perhaps the universe, like the human mind, is beautiful precisely because it is never completely whole? Let us walk gently into the next part, slowly, softly, as if entering an ancient library under moonlight. More than a century ago, Einstein offered humanity what many philosophers call a revolution of perspective. Space-time is not a still stage, but a flexible fabric. Mass bends that fabric. Objects move along that curvature, and thus we call it gravity. General relativity is a perfect poem. It explains planetary orbits, the bending of light, and even the expansion of the universe. It is a stunning map of everything large. But when we shrink, the magnifying glass relativity falls silent. It has nothing left to say. And beneath that silence, another world awaits us. If general relativity is a symphony, then quantum mechanics is jazz-free, unpredictable, and wonderfully absurd. Particles can be in two places at once. A particle has no position until it is observed. A particle can pass through a wall without enough energy to break it. There is no empty stage, the vacuum is full of restless fluctuations. Richard Feynman once said in The Character of Physical Law, "I think I can safely say that nobody understands quantum mechanics, not because it is wrong, but because it is so correct that human intuition cannot keep up." The large-scale world follows elegant curves. The small-scale world follows dancing probabilities. Both pictures are perfect, and yet they cannot match, like two beautiful melodies that cannot harmonize in the same song. Imagine you have two maps. One describes streets, cities, rivers, mountains. One describes every grain of soil, every speck of dust, every atom. But when you lay the maps on top of each other, they do not fit. The streets do not align with the atoms. The atoms do not reflect the shape of the city. That is the situation of modern physics. General relativity describes the universe at the largest scales, galaxies, black holes, cosmic expansion. Quantum mechanics describes the universe at the smallest scales, particles, fields, energy. But when we try to use both to describe the center of a black hole or the first instant of the Big Bang, the equations explode. The universe becomes a problem that cannot be solved. This is the greatest mystery and the greatest beauty of modern physics. To bridge the large and the small, science is trying to build a bridge of unification, what we call quantum gravity. It is the idea that gravity is not a smooth curve, but a quantum phenomenon like all other forces. If that is true, then space and time are not a smooth fabric, but are quantized, grainy, like quantum pixels. But so far, quantum gravity remains only a sketch in the dark. No experiment has proven it. No equation is complete. The universe, like an artist, still keeps its secret. String theory proposes that every particle in the universe is actually a tiny vibrating string, each vibration producing a different particle. Vibrate this way. Electron. Vibrate that way. Quark. Vibrate another way. Photon. The universe becomes a great instrument, and everything from light to matter becomes music played by invisible strings. Brian Greene wrote in The Elegant Universe, "If string theory is right, music is not only in our ears but in everything. But string theory has one great problem. It is so beautiful that it is difficult to test. It is like a perfect dream that we still cannot prove ever existed. If string theory is made of strings, then loop quantum gravity is made of loops. Space is not smooth. It is woven from tiny quantum loops so small they cannot be divided further. Space-time becomes a structure, a four-dimensional crystal, a tapestry woven from mathematical patterns. This idea helps explain the quantization of gravity, but it has a weakness. IT may never be measurable. Perhaps the thread the universe uses to stitch itself together is thinner than the human imagination can grasp. If gravity is a force, then what carries that force? Electromagnetism has photons. The weak force has W and Z bosons. The strong force has gluons. What about gravity? Physics predicts a force-carrying particle called the graviton, but to this day, no one has ever seen it. No one knows whether it exists. No one knows if it can be detected. The graviton is a promise still unpaid, a dream asleep, a question without an answer. We know there are four forces: gravity, electromagnetism, the strong force, the weak force. But recent experiments hint that there might be a fifth force, something mysterious connecting particle physics with dark energy. If true, then everything we know is only the surface. Beneath it lies another map, deeper, more intricate, and more beautiful. As Rilke wrote in Letters to a Young Poet, the future enters into us in order to transform itself in us long before it happens. Perhaps science is hearing a call from the future, the whisper of a fifth force, Einstein's dream, Hawking's longing, the hope of thousands of physicists. One single equation describing the entire universe, no exceptions, no contradictions, no forbidden zones. But for now, such an equation does not exist. Perhaps it is too complex, perhaps too simple, perhaps it cannot be written. Perhaps it exists, but humanity is not yet ready to understand it. Or perhaps, as many philosophers suggest, the universe has no final core. It is simply an infinite process, a poem without an ending, a story with no final chapter. As you hear this, you may feel something light, like a long breath dissolving into space, not because you understand everything, but because you realize. Even the greatest minds in history did not understand the universe, and that is perfectly okay. Physics is not stuck, it is expanding. Just like your mind on sleepless nights, just like your heart when it is learning to heal. And within this uncertainty there is a deeply human beauty. We do not know everything, we do not need to know everything, and still we can walk forward with curiosity, humility, and a steady breath. Let the great theories of physics become a gentle breeze passing through your mind. Let uncertainty become a warm blanket. Let the universe, even with its unanswered questions, lull you into sleep like a distant melody. Tonight, you do not need to solve the equations of the cosmos. You only need to feel your own quiet. And that is enough. As we step away from the world of ultimate theories where science tries to place the entire universe into a single equation, yet still cannot, you may feel within yourself a very particular silence. A silence like the moment after a long piece of music when the final note dissolves and you suddenly realize you are still breathing. The beauty of physics does not lie in its answers. It lies in the deeply human helplessness we feel in the fact that the universe is always just beyond reach, like a horizon that keeps receding as we walk toward it. But from this helplessness, a deeper question opens. If every theory is temporary, then what is the ultimate nature of existence? That is the question the final part of this journey wishes to touch lightly, gently, like a fingertip brushing the thin mist of night. Let your breath settle. And together let us step into the greatest question humanity has ever asked. 1. Why is there something rather than nothing, the oldest question in philosophy? This may be the question that renders both scientists and philosophers silent. Leibniz once wrote, "Why is there something rather than nothing, the principles of nature and grace?" 1714. In a universe forever in motion, in a river of time that stretches endlessly. Perhaps the strangest thing is not that galaxies spin or that quantum particles dance, but that the universe exists at all. No rule demands that it must. No logic requires existence. Non-existence, at least on paper, is far simpler. So why is there something? Some say the universe is merely a quantum fluctuation from nothing. But that only shifts the question, why would the void allow a fluctuation? Some say absolute nothingness has never existed. But that raises another question. If nothingness is impossible, then what does nothing even mean? Perhaps the question exists only because the human mind is wired to seek causes, while the universe has no obligation to explain itself. But whatever the answer may be, the question strangely soothes the soul. It reminds us existence itself is a miracle, and the fact that you are here breathing, listening is something so rare it may never happen again. 2. What is reality made of? Matter fields, information, or consciousness? We grow up believing the world is made of matter, yet modern science weakens that belief a little more each day. The 20th century opened with Heisenberg's famous words, "What we observe is not nature itself, but nature exposed to our method of questioning." Physics and Philosophy, 1958. If matter has no definite state until observed, then is reality truly material in the way we imagine? The 21st century pushes the question even further. Information theory suggests the universe is built from bits, ones, and zeros. Field theory suggests particles are merely vibrations in underlying fields. Consciousness-based theories suggest reality exists only when perceived. When you tap a wall with your knuckle, what is responding to your touch? The wall, or vibrating electromagnetic field simulating the sensation of solidity. Perhaps reality is not a thing, but a process, an interaction, a network of information like waves on the surface of a lake. Not matter, but the shape of movement. And you are part of that shape. 3. What happened before the Big Bang, or does the question make sense? The Big Bang describes the first moment of the universe. But what came before? The question seems simple until we remember that the Big Bang was the birth of time itself. If time did not yet exist, then what does before even mean? Stephen Hawking once wrote in A Brief History of Time, asking what happened before the Big Bang is like asking what is north of the North Pole. Some scientists believe the Big Bang was an absolute beginning. Others believe it was merely a stage one of infinite cycles of expansion and contraction. And still others believe the Big Bang is the mirrored interior of a black hole in a much larger parent universe. But there is also a gentler possibility. Perhaps the answer is unnecessary. Like asking what happened before you were born, there is no before, only silence. And then you appear. The universe may be the same, an appearance without cause, yet beautiful enough to exist. 4. What is the ultimate fate of intelligence and consciousness? Where do we go? We are not only curious about the universe, we are curious about ourselves. One day, when the stars dim, when energy thins, when the universe cools so much that nothing moves, will consciousness still have a place? No sun, no planets, no molecules in motion, will thought still exist? Some believe consciousness ends with the brain. Some believe consciousness is a wave, and waves never disappear, they simply transform. Some believe consciousness is a property of the universe itself, and as the universe changes, form consciousness changes with it. Carl Jung once said, "The psyche is not in the body is in the psyche." If that is true, consciousness is not bound to matter. And when matter dissolves, consciousness may continue in a form we cannot yet imagine. But whatever the answer, this question about the destiny of awareness softens something in us, reminding us that every moment we are alive is infinitely precious. As you listen now, your mind may already feel very still. The questions no longer sharp like blades, but soft waves gliding across the shore of your inner world. You do not need to answer them. You only need to feel them, to loosen, to exhale, to let everything return to its quiet origin. The mysteries of the universe, from astronomy, quantum physics, life, mind reality, to the quest for unification, all lead to one truth. The universe is deeper than every answer, and the human being is larger than every question. Each time we find an answer, the universe unfolds another layer, as if whispering, "Keep looking at me, and keep looking at yourself." Nietzsche once wrote in Beyond Good and Evil, "When you stare into the abyss stares back at you." Perhaps the universe is that abyss, and the way it stares back is by giving you the feeling of being alive, of wondering, of awakening in the darkness of night. And now, as this journey reaches its end, you may allow every question to fade like thin mist, not because you understand everything, but because you no longer need to. The universe does not demand answers. It only asks that you listen, that you breathe, that you let your mind drift through its mysteries like a leaf gliding down an endless river. Tonight, nothing you heard is meant to wake you, but to lull you into peace. Let the universe hold you with its vastness. Let your mind soften like moonlight. Let sleep come naturally as part of your exploration of existence. And as you close your eyes, remember this. You are not small within this universe. You are the place where the universe sees itself. And now, as the entire journey comes to a close, do you feel something very light, as if your mind has just walked through a vast forest and is now standing in a quiet clearing at the end of it all? We have traveled past stars that dim without any pattern, interstellar objects that sweep across cosmic time like passing commas, quantum particles that dance as if teasing human reason, immortal creatures, strange memories, hypotheses that shake the very notion of reality, and even the final theories of physics. Unfinished dreams that even Einstein could not complete. We have gone far, so far that we sometimes forget this journey didn't begin with the universe, but with something much smaller, the desire to understand ourselves. All the questions about the Big Bang, about dark matter, about the foundations of reality, about consciousness, about the soul, about time, are in truth delicate ways in which humans ask about their own existence. Who am I? Where did I come from? Where am I heading? And does any of this mean anything at all? The deeper we dive into the mysteries of the universe, the more we realize that those mysteries live quietly inside us as well. The way quantum particles behave, the way the universe expands, the way consciousness flickers and dissolves moment by moment. All of it reflects our inner world, a small universe breathing inside the chest. Carl Sagan once said, "We are a way for the cosmos to know itself." This statement is not only about the grandeur of the universe, it is also about the wonder that is you are, where the universe looks at its own reflection. You are the point where the infinite becomes finite. You are the way the silence of boundless space learns how to ask a question about itself. And then when we try to reach the end of all questions, we realize something very gentle. There is no final answer, and perhaps there never needed to be. Because sometimes meaning is not found in the solution, but in the seeking itself. Meaning lives in every breath you give to curiosity. In every moment you allow yourself to open to the unknown, and in every quiet second you spend listening to the universe whisper. Tonight, as you close your eyes, please don't try to remember everything you've heard. Don't try to understand it all. Don't try to explain it. Just let it become soft ripples gliding across the lake of your mind. Some ripples will fade, some will settle, and some will stay very deep in a place you cannot put into words. Let the universe, with all its mysteries and silences, lull you into sleep like a symphony of vastness. Let your mind rest as if it has just completed a long voyage. Let your heart soften as if it has just heard a very old story that has always been true, that you belong to this universe, and this universe belongs to you. Now, you don't need to think anymore. You don't need to compare or analyze. You only need to breathe a little slower, a little softer, and let the night hold you, wishing you a sleep so deep, so peaceful, that it feels as though the entire universe, from the smallest particles to the farthest galaxies, is gently cradling you in its arms. Good night.